6 o'clock, so I'll call the meeting to order. Welcome to the March 4th, I'll get it out. The first council meeting in March, on March the 4th, for the city of Columbiana. So I'd like to start it off, ask Councilman Rustin to lead us in our invocation.
Sure, let us pray. Dear God, thank you for the opportunity to always join as a group, Lord, and talk about the city, the great things that are going on in the city. God, I thank you so much for that. God, thank you, Lord, just for the opportunity just to meet again tonight. And, Lord, all the things that are going around us in the country, Lord, I ask you, Lord, to continue to have your hand on those things. And, Lord, I ask you to be with the families and the people in the community and be with the people that make it go and protect it on a day-to-day basis. Lord, I ask you, Lord, to be with them on an everyday basis. And God, let's be with the meeting tonight. Let the things be discussed be for the benefit of the city. And Lord, we thank you so much again. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, you'll stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I've got the agenda up there, and while you're looking over the agenda, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Lilly.
Here.
Mizell. Rustin.
Here.
King. Phillips.
Here.
Mayor Mitchell.
Here. So everybody's here. We have a quorum. So I'll give you a few more seconds to take a look at the agenda. And we'll move on. The first item on the agenda, as always, is the consent agenda, which is the approval of the minutes of the February 18th council meeting. The council members have a copy of those minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Okay, if not, let the record show the minutes are approved as written. And we'll start off with our department reviews. The chief's not here. He has been out most of the afternoon in response to a brush fire. It was a brush fire south of town off of Highway 47. Most of it, in fact, all of it, was outside the city limits of Columbiana, but we responded with a pumper company as well as a brush truck, and augmented by the Kingdom Fire Department. I'm not sure what other fire department was there, but the Forest Service was there. Most of it was focused on putting a containment line to contain the fire. I spoke to them just before coming in here, and they believe the fire is contained now. It burned about 70 acres. There was a mobile home that was consumed, but fortunately that mobile home was not occupied, so no casualties other than the property as far as that was concerned. So they've had a busy afternoon, so that's the reason why he's not here right now. Also, they have people standing by in the event that we need to open the storm shelters this evening due to inclement weather. So that's been covered. And as far as the stuff on his chart, nothing's changed since the last meeting. So any questions? Okay. Library.
Okay, really, we're going good. No issues in safety, budget is still good. I'm doing interviews this week for our part-time position. We had an estimate of 1,448 visitors for the month of February. We did not get the stats for February yet when I put the slide together, so I'll have those for next month. I will actually be at Elvin Hill Friday to read Across America. I will be reading to the third graders this year, and I always look forward to that every year. So other than that, we're still going, chugging along, and doing what we do.
Okay. Any questions for Jennifer? Okay, thank you. Environmental Services.
We really haven't had a whole lot change. We've had a little trouble with our ammonia on our effluent water samples. We had a blower that went out, so that threw us out of compliance for a little while. They're putting that in first thing in the morning. It come in by freight this afternoon, so we're gonna work on that tomorrow. Highlights and opportunities, the contractors should be, forming up the walls this week, towards the end of the week. So they got all the rebar in, so the structure should be complete hopefully in a couple more weeks.
Okay. What's the next step after that?
After that, they'll, start putting the aeration equipment in the bottom of the basin and running pipes and, installing the mechanical parts and the clarifiers. And then running the power over there to it, getting all the underground stuff done.
So when do you anticipate that pond would be ready to start to put in service?
Hopefully by the end of next year, it should be.
That long?
Mhm. And then it'll take about the same amount of time for the other one. So it's about a 2-year process.
Yeah, I know it's a 2-year process. So when you say the end of next year, you're talking about the end of this calendar year?
Yes, like calendar year, like 26th of December, December 26th.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Dale? Okay, Community Affairs and Senior Services, you got that for Ally? Guess not. All right, Cowboy Day was a success. It was kind of chilly, so my perception, and I haven't gotten any numbers, is that maybe the turnout was a little bit lower because it was cool. They're starting to work on Music on Main and Liberty Day. I think we decided on some entertainment for Liberty Day. You can see how many meals they served. I talked to Allie. She's talked about some of the meals they delivered today out near the area where the fire was at. And of course, the grant they've got for the patio project should be starting soon. And a couple of events. They've already had the Mardi Gras fundraiser. And then tomorrow is the Chamber Connections luncheon. Questions? All right, the library board was supposed to meet but didn't have a quorum. Were there any other boards that met?
Yeah, the beauty board met yesterday, or
The
last night.
beauty board?
Sorry, the beautification board. And, don't forget about our Easter Bunny tea. It's April 4th, from 10:30 to 12. And the magazine says 1 o'clock, so make sure everybody, if anybody mentions it, to tell them that it's at 10:30 to 12.
Okay,
And we're talking about doing instead of a in-home tour, we're thinking about doing a patio tour sometime in April or May. So just keep that in mind and keep following our Facebook page for anything that we do.
okay. Are there any flyers out on that Easter Bunny tea that has the correct time?
We have flyers. It's on the website to purchase tickets, and it should be on the board.
So it was in Columbiana Living that had the wrong time when you said magazine?
Columbiana Living. Where can you get those?
There's some out here.
There wasn't last night.
My dentist's office has more than anybody in town, so
I don't think
go
there's
there.
any here.
There's not any, because I looked last night.
Yeah. So I don't know where they got how they got all theirs, but they got a boatload of them.
Okay.
All those tickets had to be sold online, bought online, right?
Or you can buy at the door,
Can't
but
buy
we're
at the
not
door.
selling actual tickets.
Okay.
So the magazines were distributed just like the Bugler was supposedly, so.
Okay.
Not quite as many, obviously, copies. Okay, so we have Walker Gann with Dent Moses here with us to go over the fiscal year 23 audit report, which was just completed. So Walker, it's yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me here. I can be as short or as detailed as you want, so I'm going to start short, and then if you have any questions, we can go from there. My name is Walker Gann. I'm with Dent Moses. We are the firm that the mayor has engaged to audit the city. Your predecessor from Deloach, Barber, and Caspers, they've all retired or changed positions, so their firm has kind of ceased to exist. So we've been engaged to perform the audit for the city. So the documents you have in front of you are the audited financial statements for September 30th, 2023, along with a communication to governance letter. You may be used to also seeing another letter that's a communication of internal control matters. The way that the audit's being done now, the mayor has requested that we be doing, I call it a yellow book audit, but essentially we perform additional procedures for the compliance of the city and the internal controls for the city. So a letter that only governance may have gotten previously that lists out maybe internal control related matters, significant deficiencies, material weaknesses, non-compliance is now gonna be at the end of the financial statement. So it's included in the financial reporting package that would be made publicly available, instead of being just reserved for governance. So keep that in mind as we move forward. Important parts. Auditor's report, page 1. In our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the governmental activities, the business type activities, the blended component unit, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information. So an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, that's what you want. It's the highest level. We have, our opinion on the financial statements is not modified by any of the procedures that we had done or any of the adjustments we've made. So that's what you want to look for here. The report, if you're looking at these reports a lot, it's slightly different. You'll see the inclusion of government auditing standards included now. That's the standards that we're using when we audit under a Yellow Book audit, which, like I spoke of previously, is what the type of audit the city's having now.
Walker, can I ask a question?
Yes,
You
sir.
said
Absolutely.
modified versus non-modified. Can you say the definition of that again? Is that what you said? Modified is good, non-modified is
Unmodified opinion.
unmodified. Okay.
So our opinion, if you kind of say you start with a clean opinion, it's also called an unqualified opinion. There's no qualifiers to this financial statement that we're saying these financial statements present fairly, except for, there's none of that. So it's clean, unqualified, unmodified.
Okay,
There's a few different interchangeable terms there, so
okay, thank you.
it's what you want. If you keep flipping through, you will be familiar with the management's discussion and analysis, which will be right after the auditor's report. Several pages there that precede the basic financial statements. So this is a compilation of information from the mayor and Charlene with our information that's kind of condensed into tables and presented comparatively. So it's a general discussion for the public, anyone that may or may not be familiar with the financial statement format to get an idea of the city's operations, why changes happen year over year. That's going to be included in the management's discussion and analysis. So I'm not going to read through all this, but you can see if you start flipping some of the condensed tables that will have some useful information. At the bottom of page 5, you're going to see a condensed statement of net position, so you can see total assets of the city, governmental activities, split up between governmental activities and business types. So that's all the governmental activities, and then basically business type is the sewer. 26,256,000 for the city, 6.6 million for the sewer. Our timing differences that come through on deferred outflows and deferred inflows, usually related to a debt refunding or a pension, or deferred revenues, which is property taxes that are going to be collected in the following fiscal year. So that's deferred outflows. You'll see debt refunding and pension amounts. Those are just timing differences. And then our liabilities. So the city's liabilities, governmental activities at year end were just over 15 million, 15.3 million. And then the business type activities for the sewer, almost 250,000 there. So ending that position in total for 2023 was right at 17.4 million. On the next page, you'll see a budgetary comparison. This will also be presented also in the back of the financial statements as a required supplementary information. But you can see original budget, final budget. If there were any budget amendments that were made during the year, those would be reflected in the final budget versus actual, and then the variances there. If you keep going through management discussion analysis, you're gonna see again, more of that condensed information. All this information is found in the basic financial statements, but is condensed in a more readable format and some nice tables and charts here. So you can see capital assets at year-end 9/30/23 were $25,188,000. You can see the outstanding debt as of September 30th, it was $14.2 million. Some additional information for context for the readers is throughout. And then some forward-looking and other information here on the last page, on page 11. Also, I'm sure if you've seen the financial statements before, we present multiple types of financial statements in a governmental, in governmental basic financial statements. So we've got government-wide, which are gonna be your first 2 pages, your statement of net position, and then the following page is statement of activity. So that's gonna be what you would normally think of seeing at a business. It is going to be total operations on the statement of net position. It's gonna have all the assets, all the liabilities of the entity. And the statement of activities is gonna be the same. And then the following statements are fund level statements, which are more like a cash basis financial statement if you're familiar with that. It's not gonna have long-term assets, long-term liabilities. It's gonna have liabilities and assets that come due. They're gonna be receivable or payable within typically 60 days current. It's the current resources economic focus. So that's gonna be more like what you're used to seeing with your budget versus actual reports that you're getting on a regular basis. Cash in, cash out versus budget, while the government-wide statement, statement of net position, and statement of activities are gonna have things in it like our capital assets, our pension liability, our long-term debt, things like that. And some of those amounts, we just touched on in the management discussion analysis, so. You will see on page 13, this is the breakdown of, I said it's like an income statement that you might have seen before, but it's really not. It's in a different format. It's broken down by the programs of the government. So you can see on the left-hand side, you're gonna see all the governmental activities and their related expenses, and then if they had revenue generating or they received grants, you'll see those in the columns to the right. So, like, we don't expect the governmental activities to generate revenue. They're not intended to generate revenue. So you're gonna see total expenses for governmental activities, 6.5 million. Once you take out any revenues that may have been generated or grants that were received, total expenditures, net expenditures, 4.5 million over in that right-hand column. And then below that, you're gonna have general revenues, which is gonna be everything that's not related to a program. Taxes, fees, gain on sale of assets, things like that. And again, it's broken out by governmental and then business type. So total change in net position at year end 9/30/23 for the governmental activities was a net expense of $726,000. And then for the sewer system for the business type activities, there was a net income of $282,000. You will see a prior period adjustment here. So this was an adjustment that we made to put deferred inflows related to property taxes on your statement of net position. That had not been previously reported there. Essentially, it's deferred inflows and outflows, like I mentioned before, are a timing difference. So the Alabama Examiner's Office says when property taxes are measurable, they haven't come due yet as of September 30th, but they are going to be used to fund the next fiscal year's operations. So we've put that on as a deferred inflow. It's in your accounts receivable. It had not been previously, but that's what you see prior period adjustment there at the bottom of page 13.
Is that an approximate figure? Is that is that an approximate figure?
It is.
Okay.
So we typically get from the county, the assessment of property taxes that are gonna come due and be receivable. It's usually really close.
Yeah.
Not always exact. There's different exemptions that weren't in the process at the time, or some people just don't pay or whatever. So it is approximate, but it's pretty close.
But you don't have to come back and amend that.
No, no. And with that issue in particular, you won't see a prior period adjustment there anymore going forward. It's just gonna be included in the regular financial statements. Any questions on that? So past this, I'm not gonna go through all of them unless you'd like me to. We have the fund level balance sheet, fund level income statement, and then we have a balance sheet, an income statement, and statement of cash flows for the sewer operation. So again, it's a different financial statement view or a different basis of accounting. It's more like the cash basis of accounting. So you're probably familiar with and have seen that information in this format previously. Going into the notes of the financial statements, it should be pretty familiar if you've seen the city's financial statements before. Note 1 is just talking about the summary of accounting policies. That's going to be all the policies of the city. Some are applied to things that the city has, some don't, but they're a policy that the city has. So if they were going to have a different type of investment, it's probably talked about in here. These are all required note disclosures by GASB. So you'll find all of those there. Not a lot of, or any new information in that section. Also in note 2, talking about cash and investments. That is basically some disclosure information. Notes to the financial statements hopefully are going to give us more detail than the face of the financials. We can't provide all the detail on the face. It would just be a huge statement, so this is where you're going to find that additional information. Note 3 is just a breakdown of accounts receivable further to the different types. Note 4 is a roll forward of capital assets. We're on page 33 if you're following along. So you can see this will show us, this will tie to our net statement of net position. You've got land, some construction and process, total assets being depreciated of 26 million, total accumulated depreciation of 9.5 million. So net fixed assets, if you will, on the books at year end was 19.3 million. Note 5 is long-term debt. This is another roll forward with more detail on each of the aspects of the debt that the city has. Some other long-term liabilities are also included in Note 5, like the pension liability. Pension liability for the year went from actually a net pension asset at 9/30/22 of 339,000 to a net pension liability at 9/30/23 of 720,000, and that's based on a lot of factors. Actuarial studies on the individuals that are employed by the city, the change in investment rates, the discount rates that they use. There's a lot of factors that go into that number, and you will see a lot more of that in the pension note at the end. If you'd like to read it, it will give you a lot more detail on to how that number is determined or what makes it up.
The city changed to put everybody on the tier 1 pension plan in 23. I assume that's reflected in that as well.
It would be, absolutely. So yes, also tier changes do make an impact on the liability rate that the city would have. Yeah. Note 5, more information. Note 6, schedule of interfund payables. That's just showing due to, due from each fund, if one fund owes another fund or transfers between them. Note 8 is a pension note. This is, the pension note in Note 8 comes directly from the Retirement Systems of Alabama. It is several pages. So that'll show you actuarial valuations, what percentages they're using, expected versus actual results, and a whole lot of other stuff. Note 9 on page 48, we talk about contingencies that the city has. Excuse me. So this could be commitments or contingencies, things that the city has obligated themselves to, like future expenditures. It could be a myriad of things. So you can see, we talk about just generally risk financing and federal grants there. No further detail in there. Those are basically boilerplate disclosures. Note 10 talks about the tax abatements of the city, so you can see each one of the tax abatements and the amounts that were abated during the year. Note 11 talks about subsequent events, and this is talking about the wastewater treatment plant. So this is something that would have happened after year end that requires disclosure. So we've got a little note about the project, its estimated costs, and some of the other details around funding in Note 11. Note 12, concentrations, and the last note was just, it's a little bit more detail about our prior period adjustment that we made at the beginning on the statement of activities related to deferred inflows of property taxes. So GASB also required supplementary information. You'll find that right after this. It's the budget versus actual, some more detailed information on the pension liability, employer contributions, all that good stuff. And then at the very end, like I promised, our report on internal control. We don't give an opinion on our report on internal control, but we will report findings if we have some. So in the future, if there were any non-compliance or material weaknesses or significant deficiencies with internal control, they will be presented here. Our finding, the one finding that we do have for the year is not going to be a new one. It would have been provided to you in an internal communication with governance document. Financial statement preparation is a material weakness at the city. Really, it's a very common material weaknesses for a lot of cities to have, unless you have someone on staff that is keeping up to date with the new GASB standards, that is going to do a fund level to government-wide conversion. Charlene and the team does a great job, but it's a whole nother can of worms. So it's a required disclosure that we've got to make. If we were to present the financial statements to the city, would you be able to tell if there was a material inconsistency compared to the numbers that the city has or a GASB standard that's been issued? So that's just a note that we have in there. Boilerplate language again, our recommendation about potentially getting some more skills, more training on that. But again, economic constraints with having enough staff to be able to do all of those processes is very understandable. And then right behind that, you'll find the city's response. So with this new report, the city has to also provide a response to findings. So you'll see that there on city letterhead, talking about accepting the findings and if there were any planned remediation, what those steps look like. So. The other document you have in front of you is an internal communication with governance document. And those are, again, our required disclosures that are in there, only for governance, so that is an internal document. But it talks about, if we had any new adoptions, new accounting policies adopted, significant adjustments that were made, non-compliance issues, things like that, you'd find them in that note. But you're probably also pretty familiar with that if you've seen one in the past. So, any questions on any of that? I've left my business card with each one of you. If you do have a question that comes up, shoot me an email, give me a call. Be happy to walk through it. Anything you see on there. So, thank you for letting us serve the city, and thank you for giving me a little bit of time to run through this with all of you.
Thank you.
Ms. Walker. Now, I think we now have 60 days to get a copy of this to the state examiner, right? Is that correct? So,
I think we're going to have provided to the S&P shortly. I provided you with the final copy of that, and then to the state examiner, yes, 60 days after issuance.
okay. So we'll be getting that copy of them to them. And so there's something else that we need before we do that? We can't send like a PDF or whatever of this?
You can.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I said something to the
Okay.
contrary. No, this is completed, final. You can send this to
Okay.
anybody that you see fit.
Yeah, Charlene would never do it, but if I didn't do it right away, I would forget it.
Sure.
Okay, so that's why I was wanting to know. Okay. Any other questions for Walker? Okay, thank you. All right, so next up is Amy Sturdivant with 58 Inc. Quick introduction. At the last Mayor's Association meeting, which was held in Chelsea, and it's not the first time, but Mayor Picklesheimer has always been a strong proponent of the Innovate Alabama program. And I decided it was time to ask Amy to come and sort of give us an overview about that. I asked her while she was here if she would also give us a quick overview of what 58 Inc. is. And then she's also gonna talk to us a little bit about tax abatements as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and get you to your charts, and I think you're good to go.
Great, thank you, Mayor, thank you, Council, for having me on your agenda this evening. As the Mayor said, my name is Amy Sturdivant, and I am the President and CEO of 58 Inc., which is Shelby County's Economic Development Corporation. And we serve all of the communities within the county. And tonight, as he said, I'm gonna give an overview of what we do, and then just go through some of those specific things that Mayor had asked me to talk about. So when we think about what the work that we're doing on a regular basis, we're adding present and lasting value to the communities and the companies and property owners and business owners and workers and residents all throughout Shelby County. So that's just how we frame thinking about all of these 14 communities, of course including Columbiana, that we work with on a regular basis. And just to give you an idea, and you can kind of see here where we work with and in partnership with the Chamber. Mayor mentioned there's a luncheon here tomorrow. And then also we work with Discover Shelby, which is the tourism organization. So as you can imagine, all three of our organizations together really form the county-wide economic development efforts that we all work on together. We have a vision at 58 Inc. that is about the future of the county. It's a 2040 vision because 2030 is coming pretty fast if you haven't noticed. So we like to think out ahead and think about the type of mixed economy that we would like to see in the future in Shelby County. We see it here already. We just want to see that growth and that strength grow, whether it's in software or manufacturing, whether it's regarding a charming downtown like you all have, or some of our larger shopping centers. And so we work with all the communities to enhance that vision and carry forward that vision. In 2024, we were able to have a pretty good impact. We helped several communities and companies to expand. Edgar's Bakery is probably the most well-known that a lot of people know about, and it's expanding its current location. We also got grants that are serving projects within the county, including some innovation awareness events and grants that we got. So we were able to get dollars from Innovate Alabama that the mayor mentioned, and we're hoping that in the future we'll work with you all to do the same. And then we also created some new videos about Shelby County that you can see on our YouTube page, which if you look up 58 Inc. and YouTube, you'll find that. So our mission statement, which describes the work that we do on a regular basis, the main points here are just for you to understand that our team are professional economic developers, and we work to inform, consult, guide, and collaborate to assist communities and companies and developers to either retain the companies that we already have or the talent that we have here, attract new companies and talent, and assist everyone with the goals of economic development that they have for their own community. So this is our economic development team. I'm the president, Reed Knight is the development director, and then Bradley Paramore is the business assistant, I think is how we say it. And then we have a few other part-time folks that help us with marketing and other administrative items. But we serve the entire county in that way. We have a board of 7 people, and they are appointed by the Shelby County Commission and also by the Shelby Chamber. So the total of the 7 of them are appointed all by those 2 entities. And they set the agenda of what our strategy is and what our goals are. Those include corporate growth, retail amenities, and community engagement. And what that looks like countywide is working on that expansion of existing companies that we talked about, the attraction of new innovative ecosystem development, and then also retail recruitment. But what does that look like when we zoom in on Columbiana? And it just so happens that at every board meeting, we pick 1 or 2 communities that we do kind of a deep dive on. And Columbiana truly happened to be tomorrow. It wasn't just for this presentation, but so we had some slides that we made, just really simple ones for our board to think about you when they're thinking about all the other things that we do. And we'll be doing that tomorrow morning when they meet. And so this just shows, Columbiana is in the pink area. It shows them some of the companies that they may know the names of, and it also shows CTEC so that they can orient themselves to all that. But a little bit more on what that means in terms of the work that we're doing. We're working with you and the mayor on expansion of some of your existing companies. We did a really fun gratitude delivery to our major employers. And if you've ever heard me talk before, I always say that our major employers are those who have a product or a service that they're selling far beyond the boundaries of Shelby County. And those are really the companies that we focus on most. So Contain here in Columbiana is one of those, and we did an Edgar's Bakery delivery to several folks throughout the county, but specifically at Contain in Columbiana. We also have projects that we're working on, or that we have worked on with you in Columbiana about attracting those jobs, looking for those jobs that are going to give somebody that next level up kind of a wage. We also are working on the innovation ecosystem, and I'm going to dive into that just a little bit more. And then finally, we always represent Columbiana when we attend trade shows. We always do 2 a year. One is a national one, and then one is a regional one. And so we take our show on the road, if you will. So we make sure that we're selling the opportunities here in Shelby County, but also here specifically in Columbiana. So we have a retail overview of Columbiana specifically. You can find it on our website under retail. And you can also, if you were at this trade show, you would find your flyer and the map there and talking about the sites that you have available. So we do a lot of marketing and promoting of these opportunities. So that's our trade show booth. And I'll say it's really fun to have that map behind us, because if someone is either knows someone from Columbiana or has been here for some reason or is doing a project here, they'll stop. In terms of innovation, so Innovate Alabama is a relatively young organization that established about 2 years ago, probably 3 years ago, that is a statewide organization. They are focused on lots of things. You can go to their website, but where it really connects for Chelsea, as the mayor mentioned, Mayor Picklesheimer has already gotten into the network, as have Westover, Pelham, Calera, and the county. So there is a network that Innovate Alabama has, and we have helped to write those grant applications, and we would like to help you do that in the coming year here to make sure that you're part of that network. And you might say, well, innovation's not really our thing. And what Innovate Alabama has told us, and in turn we have told lots of people, is that innovation needs awesome downtowns like you all have. Innovators want to live in great places or come to cool festivals or go to great arts and entertainment that you have here. So it's a really great way to think about all of the work that you've done over the last several years with your community, that supports new people wanting to live here and be here, or just visit here. And that all supports the innovation ecosystem really of the greater Birmingham area, but certainly of Shelby County. So what I was encouraging the mayors at their quarterly lunch is that where it really is a great opportunity for every community in Shelby County is that there is an outdoor recreation portion of the Innovate Alabama grants. So once you're in the network and you are a network member, which we can help you get in, then you can apply for grants that might be small outdoor recreation improvements that somehow support innovators or cool events like what you're doing. So it sounds kind of strange, but that's what that's all about, and there's lots of other parts of it. There are lots of dollars for founders of companies, and there's also a lot of dollars being put into making sure all students have access to great STEM programming. So that's another part of it. So you see the Tech 280 Innovator Environment, that was the grant that we wrote last fall. We did get awarded that grant, and so we will be implementing a brand of Tech 280, which is related to the tech companies that are on 280, but we're hoping, for instance, to get it at the campus of CTech. So when the students are there, they see a banner that says, hey, I could go work right here in Shelby County and still live in Columbiana or in the area. So it's kind of cool. Don't want to take up too much time talking about that. The next part is just switching gears from innovation, but letting you know that one of the main things that our organization does is with a company and a community who either has an existing company that is trying to expand or a new company they're trying to attract, we will work with both. So we'll be the liaison between the city and the company and make sure that they qualify and make all of the right decisions and then help the city make the right decisions to give an abatement. What that might look like is that it qualifies as a manufacturer, and so because of that, the state laws allow you to abate their taxes, not including the school taxes, but abate their taxes for a period of time. It's a standard tool that the state put in place years, decades ago at this point, but it allows at the local level for you to abate the taxes for the city, the county, and the state all in one approval. It sounds kind of crazy, but it's a very tried and true program that the state does, and the way I usually explain it to people is that based on the type of major employer it is, so again, selling a product or service far beyond the boundaries, it allows for the community to locally help that company or attract that company, which is a great thing. And it's so good, and it's so good for the state at keeping companies and attracting companies that they have a whole team in the Department of Revenue at the state that is assigned to helping us help you help their company. So just kind of some good evidence, I think, that if we're paying people to help with that process at the state level and at the regional level like us, that it's shown lots of good return. So I just want to make sure that you all know that we're here for you anytime you have one of those companies that does fit that qualification. That's the very first thing we do, is make sure it fits the qualifications of being able to do that tax abatement. But you hold that power now, and we can work with your attorney to, have that happen anytime that you need it to. Before I go on, any questions? I know I've said a lot. I'm trying to go faster than 3 minutes a slide. These are some of the target industries that we use, and so you can look at these on our website. These are the 6 target industries of Shelby County: advanced manufacturing, automotive supply, biotech, distribution logistics, professional business services, and software IT.
I have a question about this. We hear a lot these days about high-performance computing, AI, things of that nature. Which category would that fall in? Software and IT, or
Yeah, it would fall in
advanced
software
manufacturing?
IT. And it depends on the specifics of it. Sometimes it may fall just on the edge of that. We don't only attract these types of companies, and we don't only have these types of companies as our legacy, of course, where we have so much construction and materials in Shelby County. But these are the ones that, when we're thinking of that 2040 vision, that we're working to attract and expand.
Okay, before you go on, I'm gonna go back to the far beyond the boundaries of
Yes.
the county. So, do the tax abatements have to focus on, so like if we have an existing company that's expanding, or if we have another company that's, say, a retail outlet that we would want to attract, would they be eligible, or does it have to be somebody who's selling beyond the?
So they would not. So when you talk, the way I usually keep it separate is when I talk about abatements, I'm talking about industry sectors like the ones I showed there. So if they, in fact, in the act at the state level, there is a list of NAICS codes, which are the industry codes for those companies. Those are the ones that you are allowed by the state, law on this part to abate. Now, there's a whole different area of incentives, which is for retail. I usually refer to those as rebates, just so that my head says rebates are for retail and abatements are for industry.
Yeah.
So this process that I'm talking about, tax abatements, where you can abate at the local and the county and the state level, only apply to those major employers.
Okay, so the abatements that Walker was talking about that we have, those are for local, and those were only, city sales tax abatements.
Right, and so we usually refer to those as retail rebates,
Okay.
just so that we know, but that's good to know. I did make a note of that to
Okay.
check that though. But both are great tools, and anytime you want to think more about what tools you want to use, you think about what your objective is. If you don't know what tool to use, call us. We probably have done a tool for that type of use. In fact, I know just end user, you can do an end user rebate, you can do a developer rebate with an agreement, or on the industry side, you would do an abatement.
Okay.
So the final slide that I have is about a contribution for you to consider toward 58 Inc. So I've described everything that we do very fast. I invite you to come to our website, and it's 58inc.org, and check out more of what we do and more of how we're promoting Columbiana. One of the things that I didn't mention in the marketing is that we're in the works right now on letting Columbiana be the prototype for the first full city page on our website, and then once you all are happy with yours, then we'll do the rest. But we're starting that this week. But what we did in 2022 is we made an agreement with the countywide chamber that we would not go after corporate or private contributions. We have been fully funded by the Shelby County Commission since 2017 when we were founded. And come fall of 2022, at the time, my board said, okay, it's time. We would like to start asking the communities just to contribute and help. Not to replace what the county's given, but just help. And so the board looked at each community that was over 4,000 population, if they could work into their budget 25 cents to $1 toward 58 Inc., that would be per capita, for your population, that would give us a little bit more working operational dollars to do all these things that we do. It would support everything that I described that we do, but it also could be specific things that you want done. So if there are some key priorities that you all want, we would be willing to say, okay, these 3 priorities in this coming year, if you can get it into your FY26 budget, then we in FY26 accomplish, these 3 things. We can't promise wins, but we can promise, action and activity around something. So what that looks like for you all is just about $1,000 to $4,000. If you could, as you're starting, consider your next year's budget, think about that. We've had one community fully commit. We have a few others that are considering it right now, so you're not behind. It's just something that slowly we're trying to make sure all the communities are aware of, and that we could use the help just because we are a small team. We want to do a lot for all of the communities, and we will, whether you decide to put it in your budget or not, or can afford it or not, we will still do all the things that I just described to you, for you, with you. So I just put the next steps, kind of talking about the things that we already have talked about, but supporting you as you expand industry, supporting you as you go to get an Innovate Alabama Network designation or future grant, and then also if you would consider during your budget process. Anything I
So
can-
what is the Innovate Alabama application process?
Well, it's only been 3 rounds of those requests so far. What we've learned is that they've changed every time. And what we don't know is when they will open the next round. It could be sometime this summer, or it may not be until the fall. But it looks like you taking a look from where you sit here in Columbiana and saying, okay, this is what we see as our innovation ecosystem and the assets that we have. We've already mapped those. We would help give you that. And then also you can add to that list, which helps everyone. And then it's just talking about what you all have done to create places for innovators in the way that they're looking for. So it's not too complicated. They're making it a little bit more streamlined through a portal kind of application system. So what we found is just downloading the questions, about probably 2 pages of questions that we can help draft.
Okay.
Let you pop in there, hit submit, and usually they're willing to get new network members because it really helps to spread the message to everyone in the whole state. And as soon as we learn when that next cycle is of applications, we can make sure to let you all know.
Real quick, can you give me an example of an outdoor innovation grant project, just real quickly?
Yeah, I've seen communities do gateway signage or directional signage, so just signage that a package of signage that's attractive, that would match with your downtown look, and it would direct people who are driving to the things. I've seen that. I've seen even trail connections, so if you have a walkway here and a walkway here, but you want those to connect somehow, they've done grants for those. They've done grants for seating or other interactive kind of outdoor amenities, I guess you would call them, in places where innovators may be working or enjoying themselves. So in April, I'm going to their first outdoor recreation conference, and I'll know a lot more about that then. But we can brainstorm after I see what they're doing there. But the county manager will be speaking at that with me, and we're going to talk about how we leverage our recreation to make sure that we're keeping all of our workers happy in here in Shelby County.
Any other questions for Amy? If you'll go back to that last chart, I need you to get me there so I can return to where we were. Okay. Whoops, no, we went too far. There we go. Thank you, Amy. Appreciate it. All right, moving right along. So we have a couple of resolutions on the agenda. As fate would have it, I had a conversation with Alan and our drivers of our shuttle, trolley, bus, whatever we want to call it. And we were concerned about the condition of the bus. It's quite old. It's got some issues with it. And we were talking about, what repairs made sense and what we would want to do versus replacing the bus. So at the Shelby County Schools showcase last Friday, I think it was Friday before last, the county manager came up to me and said, would you guys like a new bus? And they acquired a bus using ARPA funds, and they're willing to donate it to the city of Columbiana. So what this resolution does is basically it accepts the ownership of the bus that's being given to us. It's a brand new bus, 2025. It's essentially identical to the one, the bus that the senior center got a year or so ago. So pretty much the same bus. And then we'll be obviously from this point in time responsible for the maintenance and upkeep. It's basically no strings attached. We're getting it as is, but like as I said, it's a new bus and it's under warranty. And so we need to pass this resolution. I will sign the acceptance letter for the bus if the county does that. I would like to ask for a roll call vote. Technically, we don't have to expend any funds on this other than the maintenance and upkeep, but I would like to go ahead and ask for a roll call vote after we do this, get this resolution introduced. So does anybody care to introduce the resolution 32501 to accept the bus?
I introduce resolution 032501 is accepted donated property from Shelby County Commission.
I'll second.
And if you would call a roll, please.
Councilmember Lilly,
Yes.
Mizell,
Yes.
Ruston,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes. Okay, that's great news. We've got the bus. All I gotta do is sign the acceptance letter and we've got the title and we're ready to rock and roll. So, I know, and going forward, we have, agreed, I believe, that, instead of a mandatory fee, we will just ask for donations for ridership on the bus. Okay, so the next resolution is an ABC license for Los Michoacanos Bar and Grill. I think everybody knows where it's at. It's in the fork in the road over by the high school. I think this is a full, have they been serving alcohol before? Is this is brand new? And this is gonna be the full liquor, beer, wine, whole 9 yards. So they've already complied with the requirements from the state of Alabama, so it's now up to us to approve this resolution, which says that the Council of the City of Columbiana hereby grants the request and charge the city clerk with providing a letter to the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board indicating their approval of the license. So once again, after this one's introduced, I think we are required to do a roll call for an ABC license. So would anyone care to introduce the resolution?
I introduce resolution 032502 ABC license for Los, how do you say it, Charlene?
Michoacanos.
Michoacanos
There you go.
Bar and Grill, sorry.
You got it.
Second.
Was there a second?
Yes.
Okay, you'll call the roll.
Councilmember Lilly,
Yes.
Mizell,
Abstain.
Ruston,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes. Okay, so the resolution is passed. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the Arbor Day proclamation for proclaiming April 25th of this year as Arbor Day. That is the day that I know that the state of Alabama is recognizing it this year. In the past, we have not necessarily recognized it in the state of Alabama on the same day as the rest of the nation. But as you know, we are a Tree City USA, and also the Beautification Board has already had their tree giveaway, and part of our requirement for the Tree City USA is to make this proclamation. So I think everybody does, as this says. I'm not going to go ahead and read all this stuff, but we've got a lot of trees in town. I think they do a lot for our environment and make this place a nice place to live. And we try to take care of our trees in the town as best we can as well. So, therefore, I, David Mitchell, Mayor of the City of Columbiana, do hereby proclaim April 25th of 2025 as Arbor Day and encourage each citizen to participate in the tree planting activities on this day. And so, so it's proclaimed, and I hope everybody has had an opportunity to get some of those trees when the Forest Service and the Beautification Board were giving them away, and we can we be planting trees on April the 25th. Okay, other city business. I'm going to let Charlene talk about this. This is a notification service for the city to basically put out information to the public for those who sign up for it. And you can actually, if you have your phones, take a picture of that link, and that'll take you to their, or to that QR code, and that'll take you to their website, and you can take care of it. It's real easy to do. I did it myself, but you want to go ahead and just explain it, Charlene?
Yeah, so this is an app through GoGov, and it's called Columbiana Connect. The app looks like a mirror kind of our website. It has some basic information on there that's just like our homepage on our website. But it will also allow you to get notifications if you download the app. If you don't want to download the app, you can call. You'll put in your phone number and you'll receive calls, or if you text to join, then you'll get text messages. So you don't have to have the app, it's just there's more information on the app. We will be putting out, if there's road closures, if there's events, if City Hall's closed for inclement weather, if there's a holiday and trash pickup is on a different day, those things will go out to our citizens. So they'll be informed, so everybody needs to sign up for that. I'm gonna get them out to all the businesses. I'll email that flyer to everybody, send it to everybody you know. I'm gonna get it to the senior center, to the library, water board. Just try to get that information out to everybody so we can all be connected.
Can, for that, can information be sent out through the schools to the homes?
This is just from the city of Columbiana.
Right, but like I get alerts for what's going on in Chelsea, right, like road closures. So that's, if the goal is to have as many citizens like, to be using this so that they stay in the know and they're connected to Columbiana, especially when it comes to events, to help increase the participation in events. Just thinking about like another way to get the word out.
And you're specifically talking about schools?
Yes, like through the schools. Like my son comes home with a flyer, or it's put up on like their communication board, where parents go in and find out what's going on.
So we would have to coordinate with the schools and see if that's something that they would want us to do.
Just an idea.
And,
Yeah, 'cause
and
it's-
so we'll certainly look into it. Okay, anything else? All right, I think this would be a good deal. The weather stuff, the thundering,
Yes.
we won't do that. That will come through Shelby
That will
County
come through
EMA,
Shelby County.
so.
Yeah, and then we also had the voting delegate that was under other city business.
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
see a slide.
Yeah, I forgot
I'm gonna
about
do
that.
that next.
All right, so I'll do that now. Thank you for reminding me. This is the voting delegate for the League of Municipalities Annual Convention. I am registered to go. I don't know if anyone else on the council has registered to go. But what we have to do is select a voting delegate, and if I happen to be the only one, I guess I'm it, so. Okay, so that's me? All right, so, we don't have to do a resolution or anything like that, so if the council's in agreement, I'll just fill this out and say I'll be the voting delegate. Sorry.
That's okay.
See, I don't lose it, she knows that, okay? All right, mayor's report. February the 19th, we had the State of Our Communities luncheon. Nothing really out of the ordinary, I think, occurred there, other than, I would say, Mayor Gary White's presentation. Gary is in his last term as mayor and is not running for re-election of Pelham. And he had a somewhat humorous presentation, and I think everybody enjoyed it. So, February 21st, as I mentioned, I went to the Shelby County Showcase of Schools, and I was absolutely thrilled to visit the Elvin Hill Self-Contained Special Education Unit and meet. There was maybe half a dozen kids there and teachers, and they had a popcorn cart set up. And this young lady right here, you can see she served me that little bag of popcorn. And when I reached down to take the popcorn and shake her hand to thank you, she wanted more than that. She wanted a hug. And I can tell you, it made my day. In fact, it made my month, and it's probably been the most significant thing that's happened to me since then. So it was great. The teachers there, they do a wonderful job taking care of those kids, educating those kids, and I know there's a lot of love involved in that. On the 24th, which was this past Friday, I went to the Shelby County High School's dedication of the aviation classroom. They now have an aviation instructor there. They have flight simulators there. They had some examples of some of the elementary aeronautics courses that they teach and some of the mock-ups, if you will, of aircraft parts and wind tunnel example, and also engine parts and things that they're teaching the students about. As a former fighter pilot, instructor pilot, aircraft maintenance officer in the Air Force, and then 30 years in the aerospace and defense industry, I was really excited to see that we're doing this here in Shelby County at Columbiana. As mentioned, the Chamber Connections luncheon is tomorrow at the Grand Hall at Old Mill Square, so any of you come out, we have a table there. I know that we have 3 or 4 seats left on that table. Going to have representatives from the 2024 Small Business Award winners, and they're going to, from the different categories, and they're all going to give a little presentation about the success stories for their small businesses and share that with those who are going to be there. I want to remind everybody this weekend to spring forward to daylight savings time. That's March 9th, Sunday morning at 2 a.m. And real quickly, I don't want to get into too much on this, but there's a lot of stuff going on in the legislature right now. You can go to the Alabama, there's probably other sites too. In fact, you can actually go to the State House or the State Senate website, but the League of Municipalities, ALM Online, has a legislative update, has all the legislation. They break it down into categories, say these are things that the League of Municipalities supports, these are things that the League of Municipalities opposes, and then most of them are things that the League is just monitoring. But there's 3 up there that are important to, I think, to the city of Columbiana. And one of them is consideration about changing how the simplified seller's use tax is distributed. And it's being pushed by the larger municipalities in the state who feel like maybe that online sales are taking away from their big box stores and they're not getting their fair share of it. But there are 465 municipalities in the state of Alabama, and 90% of them have a population of 10,000 or less. And I think it would be incredibly unfair if they were to change that distribution process so that those municipalities who have fewer retail outlets to collect sales tax and who are going to the larger cities to shop and who are also shopping online more because of the lack of retail outlets. So I am opposed to any changes to that. I've discussed it with our state representative, and I think he's in agreement there. Another thing that I'm opposed with is some of the more rural counties that have a more dependency on the logging industry want to increase the axle weight limits for log trucks. I think it's going to be detrimental to the condition of the roads. And as much as we've been investing lately in trying to get our roads paved, I don't want a bunch of log trucks coming through town and tearing them up. So I'm opposed to that increase. And the last one is very, very complicated, and I'm not going to go into detail in it. You're going to have to do some research on this. This is pharmacy benefit managers. And I'll tell you that the independent pharmacists are supporting this bill, which is going to make it such that these pharmacy benefit managers who negotiate prescription drug prices and what insurance can reimburse and things like that have negotiated some things such that the independent pharmacies are having to sell some drugs below what it costs them to purchase those drugs. And that's not a good thing. And there are basically 3 major ones, and they are either run by pharmacies or insurance companies. OptumRx, for people who order online, is, I think, owned by United Healthcare. Express Scripts is owned by Cigna, and then the other large one is actually owned by CVS Pharmacy. So I can tell you that the Business Alabama, I'm trying to think of the organization that prints the magazine, the Alabama Business Council. They are opposed to the bill, as is the organization that represents municipalities in the state, as is the state retirement system, because they say that by having these mandatory minimum dispensing charges, that this bill will allow all pharmacies to charge is going to increase the cost of prescription drugs. That's going to make the cost of insurance go up, and it would be detrimental to businesses. It is extremely complex, and I think everybody should research it and read about it, and then tell your legislative representative what your position is on that. I probably shouldn't do this, but I have a son who's a doctor. He's a pediatric oncologist. He's very outspoken. He's not a fan of PBMs because he doesn't like having to fight with them to try to get the medication that he wants to prescribe for a kid with cancer or a kid with sickle cell or something like that. And so, but obviously he has a bias, and I might be influenced by that. So, okay, and the last thing I wanted to do, if I've got it here, is I got a letter in the mail, and it's from the University Partnership of Alabama for Continuing Education at Jacksonville State University, and it says, "Dear Mayor Mitchell, on behalf of what I just said, the Alabama Association of Chiefs of Police, I take great pleasure in announcing that Chief Jeff Bowers has completed 160 hours of training in the Certified Law Enforcement Executive Program and was presented his 160-hour certification in law enforcement at the annual Alabama Association of Chiefs of Police Conference in Montgomery on February 13th. This is a mark of success for Chief Bowers. He has successfully completed Level 3 of the Certified Law Enforcement Executive Program. Earning this certification is a credit to Chief Bowers and also to the City of Columbiana for its contribution to the advancement of law enforcement management principles. So, Chief, thank you for your service. And even though this letter was me, I'd like to give it to you. If you don't mind.
That sounds important. Congratulations. Is there a level 4?
Okay, announcements. Connections meeting, I think we've killed that horse. Shelby County Schools spring break, 24 to 28 March. The Easter Bunny tea that we brought up earlier, and then Touch Truck on April the 12th. That's always a big thing for the kids. And any questions, comments from anyone else? Try to get home before we get blown away or rained on. Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody.